we mentioned Van Halen, and I think about how they started off that decade really strong with For
Huge.
Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, huge. The song Right Now, I think, was so huge in terms of them transitioning over into the new decade. They showed that they could still, thrive, not just
Right.
survive in the 90s. And it really started out so well. They keep Balance in 1985, a number one album, slight fall off, I think, from For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, but still solid. But then the band fell apart. And I wonder what Van Halen could have been if Sammy stayed in the band, because Humans Being came out in 96. And I thought, man, this is a badass song. Of this, I'm real excited about where they're going with this, but it all fell apart. What do you think about Van Halen in the 90s? What
No,
could have been?
I agree with you. I think there was, they were separated by non-musical issues within the band, which was too bad. I think the music, I enjoyed where the music was going, even if it didn't seem to have the same mainstream rock appeal. I didn't think it had to. They made their case as a commercial band, so now let's see where, kind of where they tried to go on Van Halen 3, but with Sammy's pop smart songwriting sensibility. What could that have been? Maybe he could arrange some of that in to song format. And even if we weren't getting the jumps, the right nows, whatever, I think we would have gotten some very interesting songs, and I say songs that you could listen to, but with Eddie and maybe Alex taking it out a little bit more with the playing and the arrangements and what they might have done.
To give you an example, we mentioned Alex Van Halen. You had a chance to interview Alex, and this song that he put out called Unfinished, which is accompanies the audio version of the book, that was written back in 1996,
Yeah.
around the time of the Twister soundtrack, and it was called Between Us Two. And Sammy had put lyrics down on it, and they were not happy with the lyrics, so they ditched the song. Now we're hearing that song without the vocals,
Right.
but that gives you an idea of where they were headed. Very, they called it kind of Led Zeppelin like, almost. That's their Stairway to Heaven. It's very different. The opening sounds almost David Gilmour like, and it's a 7 minute, 6.5 minute track. Again, that makes me wonder what could have been.
Oh, you can, and I think you could even hear on Van Halen 3 what some of the, I mean, you hear Unfinished, well, the hearing Unfinished, you could hear where their heads were at when they were going into Van Halen 3. He just needed a collaborator who was a better fit to pool some of that stuff into song shape. But I would love to hear a great instrumental Eddie Van Halen album.
Oh,
Let's
Van
hear,
Halen fans have been saying that for years, and it never
you
happened.
know, it's funny they say that, and then when it comes out, they're going to say, "Oh, it doesn't sound like ain't talking about love."
All
That's what
right.
I that's what I want. What is this crap?
Yeah.
When in fact it would be genius.
Yeah. Well, Eddie was still developing. He was still trying new things, new sounds, new textures. He was trying all this different. And of course, as we know, he was still tinkering away at the guitar. He's eventually the EVH model would come out. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just too bad because so many years lost from after Van Halen 3, which came out in 98. It was just a dark period, and it was really a bummer. But that's when I realized I was really a Van Halen fan, because a lot of people were dropping off. I was like, no, I'm still Team Van Halen here. I'm hoping for something, but you
I
started to
will.
lose hope.
This will not happen, but I would love to see Wolfgang get into the vaults with his ear, knowing where his dad was headed and knowing what his dad's intent was. I mean, I think Alex knew it too, but I think Wolfgang maybe knows even more what his dad was trying to do, what was getting his dad off. And I would love to see him have some say and do some curation of the music and bring it out for us to hear.
Yeah,
I think his take would be really, really interesting and really valid.